Maheshwara Guru Shaksha Parabrahma Tashmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Shtapitam Yena Bhutare Swayam Rupa Karamyam Dharati Swapanadikam Vandeham Sri Guru Siyata Parakamaram Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Sha Sri Rupam Sri Guruvam Sagana Ganatam Vitam Stam Sadevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shrivishakan Vitam Stam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kandara Kantana Moshte Jayatam Shurato Pango Mam Mater Matergati Matsavasha Paramboja Radhanamanam Sriman Rasarasarabi Vamsi Vana Karsan Penersan Opago Gopanata Sriyasaram Divya Dvindara Nikavadrumada Srimad Ratnagara Shima Shanishto Shri Sri Radha Shri Govindar Prasha Devi Heshamanavanam Namo Brahmani Devaya Go Brahmani Taya Chaji Haritaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Mangalam Bhagavan Vishnu, Mangalam Guru Jam, Mangalam Panidikaksho, Mangalayatano. Om Narayana Vidmahi, Vasudevaya Dimahi Tano Vishnu Prachodhyate, Om Mahadevi Vidmahi, Vishnu Padhyate Tano Lakshmi Prachodhyate. Mahalakshmi Namastubhyam Namastubhyam Sare Sare Hari Pare Namastubhyam Namastubhyam Dhanade. Tapti Kanchana Gaurangi Radha Vindavaneshwari Vishavana Sudevi Pranamani Hari Pare Namaum Vishnu Panaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutare Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tanamani Ministaya Saraswati Devi Gauramani Pacharine Nivashesa Sanyvari Praskada Desarharim Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Siddhiko Bhakta Vindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Thanks for joining us on Wisdom Wednesday. We're awfully glad to have Rob back. He's been hosting his son, who's been ill, but apparently Kel's getting a little better and is sleeping peacefully right now. So welcome on Zoom, Rob, and welcome Brent and Manasaganga and Shukshma, also on Facebook Live. Our topic today is that Maharaj Ambarish, although he set the gold standard for temple worship, not just by hiring people or making sure that the temple worship went on, but even though king of the entire planet, the 7 continents, he prioritized worship personally for himself, and he would go and do artis, he would make flower garlands, he would clean the temple floors. And as the leader, as the one setting the example, nobody supersedes Maharaj Ambarish in terms of temple worship. Now, as part of his worship of the deity, he undertook a vow, which involved fasting for 1 year. And then at the end of that vow, it entailed giving food, widely distributing food to the needy, giving cows, millions and millions of cows to the Brahmins, giving clothes, giving garlands, doing a magnificent bathing ceremony, a grand, expensive bathing ceremony for the deity, which involved a lot of ghee, a lot of milk, and a lot of yogurt. Dairy products are especially favored in the worship of the deity. When you do the bathing, you bathe with 5 different elements, of which 3 of those are milk products. The other 2 are fruit, water, and honey. The milk products being ghee, yogurt, as well as milk. All this was delivered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the medium of the fire. Now, skeptics and critics and non-God conscious people would say, look at that. Why don't you feed the people and not worry about putting ghee and butter and yogurt into the fire? Isn't that not a waste of resources which could be better spent in feeding to the poor? Why are you giving all this to a stone idol when you've got hungry people just right down the block? Well, let's not confuse helping people out, that which is help, that which is charity, of which Maharaj Ambarish did an abundance of, and that which is duty. Maharaj Ambarish did not neglect his duty in order to do charity. He did both. The first priority, however, is duty. Imagine your parents, the duty that you have to your parents. Your mother gave you your values. She taught you your quote unquote mother tongue. She bore you for 9 months within her womb. She put up with all kinds of discomforts and inconveniences in order to bring you into the light of the day. So you don't help out your mother. You don't help out your father. You don't give charity to your mother, give charity to your father. That's a ridiculous concept. When it comes to the father and mother, the word is not helping out. The word is not charity. The word is duty. You have a duty. Honor your father and mother. It's one of the 10 primary commandments in all of Christendom. So it's not an option. It's not something that you do when you feel like it, or you don't do when you don't feel like it. It's not something you do on holidays or special occasions like Thanksgiving, going and serving out food to the poor. What you owe to your parents is called duty. It's non-negotiable. You have to take care of your parents because your parents took care of you. That's just civilized mentality. That's civilized behavior. So when a critic says, neglect the duty in order to help out the poor, it's akin to saying, neglect your parents in order to help out the poor. No, don't confuse duty and charity. There are certain things we have to do, and one of them is respect and honor our parents, and the other is our ultimate parent, our ultimate father and mother is Krishna, or God. From him come the seed, the spirit, which makes our inner core, our life force. From him come the elements of this material body, from his nature, from Mother Nature, which is complement to Father Krishna. We get the elements of this body. We get all the nourishment, the foodstuffs from Krishna that we need to maintain this body. We get everything that we have, everything that we enjoy. It is all resting upon the grace and mercy of God. In that sense, he is our ultimate parent, not just father or not just mother, but father, mother, well-wisher, friend, relative. He's the ultimate with whom we have a connection. We have a duty to worship Krishna. And even if you worship Krishna, give nice bathing, give nice offerings of food, make flower garlands, keep the temple clean, build a temple for that matter, and you're a little neglectful in the other terms, Krishna will compensate for that. If you fulfill your prime duty to Krishna, to your supreme parent, Bijamam Sarvabhutanam Bidi Partam Tejas Tejas Jayushmin Vivashayushmin. Krishna says, I am the seed-giving father of all living beings. If you serve your supreme father, even if you're a little bit delinquent in terms of other duties, it's okay. Krishna says, Aham sam tapa prapi moksha. If you give up all other varieties of duties in favor of doing the supreme duty of serving the Lord, you'll not be not taken care of. Krishna will close the gap and take care of you. Serving the poor, helping the poor is optional, and it's another category of activities. We're not going to take paraphernalia, which is used to satisfy the Creator, our supreme loving Father, and deny him in order to serve the poor. Now, the good news is that the more you serve Krishna, the more he'll bless you, the more of his favor you'll have in your life, the more abundance will flow, and then the more you'll be able to serve the poor. But let's not go topsy-turvy here. Let's not put the cart before the horse. Love God with all your heart, all your soul, and your mind is the first commandment. And the second one, love your neighbor as yourself, is automatically comes about. There's no real need of a separate endeavor. But we're not switching them. We're not saying love your neighbor is a higher responsibility than loving God. The highest responsibility is love God. And when you love the Supreme Father, then you don't have to make any separate endeavor to love your neighbor. If you love the Father, you're automatically going to love his children, who are all of your sisters and brothers. So don't come to me and tell me that I should take the paraphernalia that I use in a dutiful way, as a dutiful son of the Almighty Father, to worship the Lord in the temple, that I should deny Krishna, that I should neglect the highest duty. Sapai pum sam paro dharma. Serving the Lord is paro dharma. Oh, nothing is higher. Nothing trumps it. Service of the Lord pushes everything else down. So I am not going to take your advice, I'm sorry, Mr. Cynic, Mr. Skeptic, Mr. Atheist, and neglect my duty to worship the Lord in the temple in the name of helping others out. But I am fully aware from God, all blessings, all abundance comes. And if I worship the Lord in the temple, he will be pleased. He will open the windows of heaven, and then I'll be able to liberally serve the poor. Evam prabartitam chakram nanavartya agaram mogam partam sativati. It's a circle. The more you give to Krishna, the more he gives you back. He entrusts you with certain assets. If you use those assets, not hoarding them for yourselves, but you pass them on, that what he sends your way, he sends them to you as if you were a funnel or a channel, so that you then, on behalf of the Lord, as his administrator, so to speak, administer those assets in such a way as to benefit and take care of your fellow living beings. So if you do that responsibly, then why he wouldn't give you more? He gives you in the first place because of your faithful worship of the Lord in the temple, and then having received assets from the Lord, when you show yourself responsible in giving and distributing them, then naturally the Lord's going to give you more. If you take the assets that Krishna gives you and lock them up in a bank account, have a big house with a fence around it, security, guards, big dogs with signs, keep out, then the Lord's not going to give you more. He's not going to put his trust and his faith in you. Maharaj Ambarish had a culture that started with devotional worship. He was not going to shortchange the worship in the name of charity, in the name of philanthropy, in the name of altruism, in the name of humanism, humanitarianism, secularism. His first duty, so much to the point that he himself personally every day spent hours and hours in the temple, cleaning, cooking, making flower gardens, doing arti. He is not going to stint on that or stunt that in any way, shape, or form. And yet when it came to giveaway and charity at the completion of his 1-year vow, he gave 600 million cows to the province. He gave new clothes to every person in his kingdom. He fed everybody sumptuously. Nowadays, it's fashionable not to believe in God, to be a humanist or a secularist. People say there's no God. I don't believe. But let me ask you, if I bring a picture of Ganesh or a picture of Lakshmi or something, will you spit on it? If there's no God, why wouldn't you just, what would be the consequences? But I think you will hesitate. I think you will scruple to do anything disrespectful, what to speak of a deity, but even to a picture of a deity. It is said that worship is like a warship. When you're in a turbulent ocean, a rowboat is not going to be sufficient to get you from one side to another. You need a stout boat. And that boat sometimes needs defensive guns, howitzers, and cannons. It needs all kinds of defensive mechanisms on board in case you're attacked from the sky or from the sea or by a submarine. So worship is like a warship. When you worship Krishna, Krishna takes it upon himself. Krishna says, those who are dedicated to me, even if they're not perfect, even if they have shortcomings, it doesn't matter. Because of their devotion to me, I take it upon myself to give them whatever protection they need. So your worship, it's likened to cross the ocean of birth and death on a warship. The vessel is strong. It's able of withstanding and surviving the worst hurricanes, the worst storms at sea. It's also capable of repelling, defending itself from enemies, no matter what direction they may come from, or no matter what element, whether they're coming through the air, whether they're coming through the water. So Krishna surrounds his devotees with a shield of protection. And that's why we can never neglect the prime duty of life, which is to satisfy Krishna. When we satisfy Krishna, we get protection, we get nourishment, we get gifts, we get assets. Everything originates from Krishna. He is good, and everything that comes from him is good. Aham Sarvasya Prabhavamata Iti Buddha Bhava Samamdita. Therefore, it is said, Ta Pumbir Dujasha Shishbarna Shaman Sunisti Tasha Dharmasha Samsiddhya Hari Tosan. There are various duties according to your talents and your aptitudes. If you're intellectually inclined, you're not materialistic, you like philosophy, you like reading, study, learning, then you're Brahmin by temperament. If you like danger, you like bodybuilding, you like athletics, you're see yourself as a leader, you're very generously disposed, then you have the temperament of a Kshatriya or a warrior. If you like commerce, buying and selling, merchandising, then you're a Vaishya. And if you like just working, simple life, tilling the fields, or artisan or craftsman, then you're a Sudra. So whatever category you're in, by temperament, you'll be very happy working according to that temperament, either as a Brahmin, as a Kshatriya, Vaishya, or a Sudra. And the system of division of labor according to talents and attributes and temperament is called Varnashram Dharma. Everybody has their prescribed duties, but the purpose of all of that is to satisfy the Lord. Whether you're a Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra, the purpose, the perfection of executing your duty is not to do the duty itself, but to do the duty in such a way that the Lord is pleased. Hari Toshna. And if the Lord is pleased, your worship becomes like a worship. You become unassailable. You become invulnerable. No enemy, no critic, no fault finder, no giant is going to be able to lay a finger on you. So make your worship your priority. Don't minimize it. Don't skimp on it in the name of secularism, in the name even of charity, or in the name of family. First and most important item in our life's agenda is to worship the Lord very nicely in the temple, no matter what. And that culture Maharaj Ambarish had. Nobody can claim that they worship the Lord in the temple more gorgeously, more lavishly than Maharaj Ambarish. Having said that, Maharaj Ambarish did not think that Krishna was only in the temple. How many people go to the temple, they're on their best behavior, and yet when they leave the temple, when they're outside of the temple, they do anything. God's in the temple. God's watching me in the temple. I won't tell a lie in the temple. But as soon as I leave the temple, I leave God behind. He's there stuck, locked up in the temple. And then I can do whatever I want. Someone said, people sin on Saturday night. They go to the church on Sunday to confess and to show remorse with every intention of going out the next weekend and doing the same sinful activities. Most pious Indians or Hindus would never tell a lie in the temple in front of the deities, but how many lies will they tell outside? The average number of lies that a person tells a year, according to studies, is 1,453. Don't ask me how you come up with that number. Some of them might, of course, be innocuous white lies, if there's said to be such a thing. 1,453 lies. I heard about a family that had a lie detecting robot. Whenever you told a lie, it would slap you. Their son had a curfew of 11 o'clock. He got in at midnight. The father said, how come you're an hour late? He said, the car broke down. The robo slapped him. And the father then said, what did you do? He said, I watched a movie. He said, what movie? He said, it was a movie, a religious movie about the Mahabharata. And the robot slapped him. He said, now tell the truth. What movie did you watch? Well, it was an X-rated blue movie. Nothing happened. The father feigned astonishment, feigned disapproval. He said, when I was your age, we never even heard of X-rated movies. What to speak of going to them? The robo machine turned around and gave the father a big slap right across the cheek. At this point, the mother had been standing by and she heard the conversation. She said, why shouldn't he go and see X-rated movies? After all, he's your son. And then the machine turned around and gave a big slap to the mother. So why, in spite of so many temples, so many churches, so many mosques, so many denominations, and people are still liars, people are still cheaters? And the answer is simple. They see only God in the place of worship, but they don't see him outside. They won't lie in the temple or church or mosque, but outside they'll lie. As soon as they leave, they say, Krishna, now I'm leaving. Please don't follow me. You stay where you are. Like your dog, you ask your dog, sit, heal. And we ask Krishna, heal. Don't take cognizance of what I do the other 6 days a week, but just take me as I come to you pretentiously on Sunday. Most people think a little Krishna consciousness, a little God consciousness is good. A little bit is okay. An hour on Sunday, it's okay. Coming on Janmashtami once a year, it's okay. But more than that, I don't know. Too much is too much. And yet, imagine how many fewer laws we need, how many fewer policemen we'd have to hire, how much more peaceful and harmonious society would be if people were simply patterned how to see Krishna everywhere. If people saw that not only in the temple, but when you leave the temple, you go to the supermarket, you go to the office place, you go to the gym, you go to the golf course, you're on your morning commute, you're on your vacation, you go to Yellowstone, Krishna is with you always and everywhere. How much better would people behave? How much more respect? How many less lies? How much less cheating? How much less violence would be perpetrated if we saw Krishna everywhere? Prabhupada said during the partition of India around 1948, I guess it was, the British sowed seeds of discontent. The Hindus and Muslims had lived together harmoniously for hundreds of years. The British sowed seeds of discontent, and when they quit India, they did it on the condition that it'd be divided into India and Pakistan. And when that was happening, there were riots, there was killing, interdenominational killing. And Prabhupada said, after the riots were over and the bodies were lying in the street, nobody could tell which were Hindu and which were Muslim. No one could. The Hindu would kill a Muslim thinking, I'm striking a blow against the Muslim God. And the Muslim would kill a Hindu thinking, I'm striking a blow against the Muslim God. And yet, once they're dead, once the soul left their body, no one could tell who was Hindu or who was Muslim. And certainly no one will ever succeed in striking a blow against God himself. Imagine how all that could have been avoided and can be avoided and could be avoided in the future if we simply applied this principle, which is described in the 30th verse, 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Yomam pashati sarvata, yomam pashati sarvata, sarvam chami pashati, tashaham no pranashati, sachaman avarshati, yomam pashati sarvata. People saw God everywhere. This is how Krishna describes his devotees. Those are devotees who see me everywhere and see me in everything. For such persons, tashaham na pranashati, I am never lost to them, sachamena prashati, nor are they ever lost to me. Those whose eyes are tinged with the salve of love see Krishna's Santa Siddhaiva Hridaya Shubhi Lokiyanti. Yam Shayama Sundam Rachita Gurushu. They see that behind the entire cosmic manifestation, there is a 16-year-old, bluish-hued, cowherd boy standing in the threefold bending way, playing in his flute. They see Krishna always and everywhere, because everything is nothing more or less than the diffusion of his energies. Without eyes tinged with salve of love, you see separated manifestation. Tato nyatana kinchana pitagdi shashur nakariji kapichadad labeta mata hari vashvata. You see a word of names only. You don't see anything as being one energy from one intelligent, supreme living being. You see house, you see car, you see tree, you see cow, you see bird, you see cloud, and it's all just names, fragmented names, split up into millions and millions of pieces. No wonder with such a vision, Arjuna got confused, disconcerted before the battle of Kurukshetra. No wonder Durvasa Muni lost his cool over an imagined slight by Ambarish Maharaj, because their vision was not integrated, saw everything only in terms of the immediate cause, but weren't able to discern the remote cause behind everything. To do that, you need to anoint your eyes with the salve of love. Premanjana Churita Bhakti Belochana. And it said that such a one who sees everything in Krishna consciousness through eyes of love sees the Lord always and everywhere. For him, the Lord is never lost, nor is he ever lost to him. At that stage of devotion, Lord Krishna never disappears. Having seen Krishna once, one continues to see him eternally, nor does the devotee ever lose sight of the Lord. So this comes from seeing the Lord in the temple. In India, people go into the temple on their way to work. They'll stop in. They'll stand with their hands folded, usually after having brought a little offering of money or rice or flour, not wanting to come to the temple empty-handed. They'll stand and they will take in the impression of Radha and Krishna into their hearts. The most beautiful sight, Akshno Phalam Darshanmahi, that the eyes can feast upon, are the lotus feet and the lotus form of Krishna and Radha. Take that into one's heart and then carry that with them throughout all the stresses and tensions of the day. And then on the way back home at night, stop in once again at the temple and once again fortify oneself by drinking in the beautiful form of the Lord. Pibanti te bhagavatam matmashanam pananti ke katamritam banam Pibanti te bhagavatam matmanam katamritam shavanaputashu pananti te visharam vajanti taks chanara sorora hantikam. Drinking through the eyes and drinking through the ear. Should one be fortunate enough to hear some katha while one's at the temple, this fills the heart and brings a level of satisfaction that one cannot get from any other source. Moreover, it helps that once you leave the temple, glowing in the after effects of the vision of the beautiful Lord, then you automatically see everything in those terms. You see that everything belongs to the Lord. You see that that same divine couple that was in the temple is also distributed within each and every atom and particle within the material world. Everywhere Krishna's hands and legs, his arms and feet, he sees everything, he hears everything. There is no place where God is not. That's our basis. That's the foundation of Maharaj Ambarish's devotional culture. Now, secondly, it's important to mention that he did not leave it there. He did not just see Krishna as living in the temple, but he also took that Krishna conscious vision out into the world with him. That when he left the temple, he didn't leave Krishna behind, but he took with him that sense that Krishna's in my heart. Krishna's the Upadrashtanamacha Bharta Bhaktamana Paramatmitu Desh Minmanam. He resides within our heart as the overseer, the permitter, the proprietor. So a Krishna conscious person is not one person on Sunday, and then they're another person Monday. They're not present with God in the temple, and then AWOL on the morning commute, AWOL in the office, or AWOL on the golf course. Sometimes in the name of worshiping Krishna in the temple, we forget that we have to act, we have to comport ourselves outside of the temple as if Krishna were with us there as well. And then the flip side of that is sometimes in the name of being responsible outside of the temple, then we forget to come to the temple, fuel up, fortify ourselves, get strength for the vicissitudes and tensions of everyday life. Krishna is with us all the time. The more that we are aware of this, the more that we remind ourselves of this, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, the more we become responsible in all of our activities. God consciousness is not just for the place of worship. It's for every area of our activities, even the war field. Krishna explained to Arjuna God consciousness in such a way that it applied even to the field of war. Now, once somebody asked Prabhupada, why so many temples? There are so many Hindu temples. There's so many Christian and Catholic and Presbyterian Methodist temples. Why are you making more temples? And Prabhupada said, there's so many children in the world. Why are you making more children? There are enough children. Why are you having your own children? Because one wants one's personal offering to Krishna. One wants to do something personally. One wants to take what Krishna has given one and offer it back. And if you do that in terms of a temple, you're also, through the temple, serving the greater community. Temples are not only places of religious education, they are often places of secular education also, secular knowledge. They're places of culture, or there are talks given by saintly people, there are dramas, there are musical concerts, there are kirtans and bhajans. There are places where food is disturbed, sacred, vegetarian, karma-free food, which has been offered to the Lord, come to the temple. When we go to do the Festival of Colors, Riverside, California, and Sacramento particularly, there are two temples, Sikh temples nearby. So after we finish the temple, we treat ourselves on a Saturday night by going to the langar, the wonderful feast, which is served free of charge to the public at those temples. We also have our buffet here in Spanish Fork. It's open 7 days a week from 11 in the morning till 6 o'clock at night, Sundays 11 till 3. Everybody's welcome to come. It's just a nominal fee of $10, full salad bar, 8 hot items, drink, rotis, chapatis, papadums. What more could you ask for? Prabhupada said, no one within 10 miles of any Krishna temple should go hungry. Krishna temples, for the most part, ensure that that is, in fact, the case. So the temple is the starting point. The worship of the deity is that duty, which you cannot minimize or shirk. And yet it is the foundation. It is the point from which all other empowerment comes. If you have Krishna in the equation and your priorities are right, that you serve first and foremost the deity of the Lord in the temple in his personal form, then that will lead to culture in another form. One will not become a hypocrite doing one thing in the temple and another thing outside, but one will have an integrated view of the Lord as being not only in the temple, but also everywhere present. And the consequences of that will be that one will be a responsible adult as a husband, as a father, as a citizen, as an employer, as an employee. So here we go back then to Maharaj Ambarish. He's famous throughout all the ages for worshiping in the temple. Savayamana Krishna Parara Vinivasamsi Vaikunaga Karoharo Mandira Mandiranu. He set the gold standard throughout all of history for temple worship. But now he's gone out of the temple. He's gone to Vrindavan to complete his fast. And in the process of completing his fast, he's given clothes in charity, brand new clothes to the poor. He's given 600 million cows to the worthy Brahmins. He sponsored an abhishek for the deity. So he's worshiping the temple, he's been responsible for his work. He has also, as a third element of his culture, been able to show compassion, been able to give in charity. Nobody has been hungry on account of stinginess from Maharaj Ambarish, just the opposite. Similarly, it's said of Prithu Maharaj, when he was king, he would collect a nominal tax from people, less than 1/6 of their total output. He would store it. Nobody could touch it, including him, especially him. He would store it in a safe place. Then when there was a disaster, a drought, or excessive flooding during the monsoon, or any sort of reverse or setback, there would be so much charity given from his warehouses that people couldn't understand where it had come from. Actually, it came from them, but it was given in such an insignificant way that the giving of it, the taxing, the paying of your taxes was so reasonable, it's hardly noticeable. And yet when there was an emergency, the charity which the king gave back from those same storehouses seemed, people couldn't put it together. They thought, I gave a pittance and I'm getting a flood. That was That was the trust of the king, to pay, levy some minimum tax, and then to be very generous in terms of giving back. And we have certain communities in India also who are known for their exceeding generosity. They have, on the one hand, a very sharp business sense, and on the other hand, they know that their continued good luck, their continued good fortune depends upon their sharing. And one such community are the Marwadis. The Marwadis, many of the Marwadis were in what is now Pakistan when the partition occurred. And because of the tensions between Hindu and Muslims, they were forced to leave their homes in what is now Pakistan, uproot themselves and go to India and start all over again. But they're so sharp businessmen, it wasn't but a generation or half a generation that they all became wealthy again in India. They were able to have that bounce back power. And the Marwadis, they don't mind making fun of themselves. They laugh at themselves. Everybody makes jokes about the Marwadis, how good they are at money. And everybody knows they're generous and they share, but still they kind of like to poke fun, and the Marwadis don't mind it. There's a story, a joke. I heard that an Arab in the Middle East was coming to Bombay for an operation, and he needed to get a blood from a local person. They matched blood, and a Marwadi came and gave his blood to the Arab, transfusion. The operation was successful. The Arab not only gave the Marwadi the amount of money that they'd agreed upon, but he gave him a brand new Mercedes in addition. So Marwadi was amazing. This was like his tip for just lying down in a bed for now and giving blood. He'd gotten a Mercedes from the Arab. And then a couple of years later, the Arab reached out to the Marwadi again. He said, I'm coming back. I need another operation. Would you mind giving blood again? And the Marwadi says, well, I got a Mercedes last time. Why not? So he lay on the table. They took blood. After the operation was over, that operation was also successful. And the Arab came into the waiting room, or the Marwadi, and he gave him an envelope. And the Marwadi thought, no, this time it must be a check for $20,000, $30,000, $50,000, $100,000. He opened the envelope and was very disappointed to find it was just a handwritten thank you note. And the Marwadi said to the Arab, he said, last time I did this, you gave me a Mercedes. Now you seem cheap. You're just giving me a letter. And the Arab said, well, what do you expect? Now I've got Marwadi blood in me. Now, as far as the other community, Gujaratis are concerned also, there was a joke that a Gujarati gentleman had lost a relative who was very near and dear to him, an uncle. And when he went to the newspaper to put the obituary in, the newspaper salesman said it's 10 quid per word in the obituary. Now, the Gujarati is known for not wasting money. And so he said, just put in 2 words, Dada dead. That's all. And then the newspaper salesman informed him that there's a minimum of 5 words. You can't have less than 5 words. And so what those 5 words that the Gujarati decided upon, Dada dead, wheelchair for sale. So no matter how much we joke or take advantage of these communities, the Marwadi community and the Gujarati community, they are actually not Scrooge-like when it comes to enriching and sharing in the community. Of course, our best example is Dr. Dinesh Patel, who helped us build this temple in Spanish Fork and also donated generously in Spanish Fork, Utah. He rallied the Gujarati community, and without them, we would not be able to be worshiping in the Spanish Fork nor the Salt Lake City temple today. Over and above that, we have the Festival of Colors coming up. The Gujaratis, the Patels, and the Shahs are so good with money matters that for many years now, they've managed the gate. They've processed all the arrivals at the Festival of Colors. Last year, over 2 days, we had 20,000 people, so they did process 12 to 13,000 people on Saturday and 6,000 to 7,000 people on Sunday. Some people pay through PayPal, some people pay through Venmo, some people are prepaid and they have to scan and they get their colors given to them at the gate. Some people pay cash. And the Gujarati GCAU, Gujarati Cultural Association of Utah, comes out in numbers. They man the gate both days, do an excellent job. Half an hour after the festival's over, Saturday night, they're in my office with all the money counted, banded, put in overnight deposit bags. We give them a little percentage for their own Diwali celebrations. There are no one like the Gujaratis who are better with managing finances, nobody who are more trustworthy with large sums of money, and nobody who can surpass them in giving back to the community and making the community a better place for their having been there. Now, contrast to that, communities and individuals who are known to be givers, with the mood of society today, which I think you'll have to admit is not an overall mood of giving. It's a word that starts with G, but it's more a mood of grabbing rather than a mood of giving. People are grabbing for themselves. Their attitude is, you earn, I earned this money, it's my money, I'm going to take it, I'm going to keep it, I'm going to spend it, I'm going to hoard it. And yet in all of that, there's no satisfaction. America has more goods, more income, and yet America also has more unhappy people who are on the brink of despair. Maharaj Ambarish was not a taker. Maharaj Ambarish had a culture of giving. He worshiped in the temple. He was honest. He never told a lie outside of the temple. He saw Krishna always present with him everywhere. And as a consequence of those first two cultural attributes on his part, he was extremely generous in giving back and passing along whatever assets he had. As a part of the completion of his vow, he gave 600 million cows in charity. Now, someone nowadays would say, he gave away so much. What did he get back? I wouldn't give out anything unless I got something better back. Well, the answer is, what he got back were blessings. Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmanya Taya Chajigari Taya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. When you give open-handedly without expecting anything in return, in the name of the Lord, you're going to get blessings. Blessings are not attained through purchasing. Blessings are only attained through giving, through passing along the blessings of the Lord. There isn't a shop where you can go and ask for $10 worth of blessings, $20 worth of blessings. The beauty of blessing, the pay, the remuneration of blessing is the beauty of giving. The smile on the face of a child, or the smile on the face of a recipient. Even if you don't have money to give someone, you can give a kind word, you can give encouragement, you can tell them they're smart, they look good, they're blessed, they're a child of the Almighty God. When we get a gift, when we're the recipient, we get a thing. But when we're the giver, we get a blessing. When we're the giver, we get a blessing. And that's why it said it's more blessed to give than to receive. When we give a gift, we've lost a thing, but we've received a blessing. And there's nothing more valuable in this world than getting blessings from the Almighty Lord. There's nothing we can do more than giving that will enhance our HQ, our happiness quotient more. So after giving clothes, after giving jewels, after giving food, after giving cows, Maharaj Ambarish was ready to sit down and complete his vow by breaking his fast. Everything had been done according to the three principles of culture, the first of which is worship in the temple, the second of which is honesty and integrity outside of the temple, and the third of which is giving in charity. Now he's going to be tested about the fourth element of culture, which is hospitality. He's going to receive an uninvited guest who is very, very difficult to please, whose name is Durvasa Muni. That'll be more on that in the future. Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Are you there, Rob? Okay, he might be taking care of Kel. Sukma says she's sliding the home plate on time today. In her travels, she doesn't always get to be with us from the get-go, but apparently that was the case today. So thank you, Shukshma, Govinda Dave, Jean, Brent. Appreciate you're all taking the time out. Pragna from Dallas gives us a Hari Krishna. We miss you. Okay, couldn't raise Rob there for his takeaways, but I hope he'll send them to me through email. And yeah, this has been Wisdom Wednesday, part 15 on our ongoing discussion, the qualities of great devotee, Durvasa Muni. Hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful tomorrow. We'll be back on the weekend, be giving the talk on Saturday night as well as Sunday. The topic will be an atmosphere of praise. Looking forward to it. In the meantime, keep chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.